Are these kinds of things always messages from our guides or our higher self, or can they just be reflections of our own limiting belief and not so much guidance as reflections of our fears and limitations?
It can be either, but again, it depends upon what the symbols mean to you. You can use them in a positive or a negative way. You can say, I keep seeing this, and therefore it's reflective of the fact that I'm focusing on this particular negative belief. Or you can also say, I keep seeing this, and it's reflective of the fact that I'm focusing on a particular positive belief. It depends on how you use it. Synchronicity itself is relatively neutral. It depends on how you use it and what it means to you, what it reflects to you.
So the idea that you could get excited about any synchronicity
Yes.
allows it to be a trigger for being in a positive state, because suddenly you recognize that everything is one, everything is orchestrated in some way.
Yes.
It,
And it brings your attention to what you need to pay attention to, whether positive or negative beliefs within yourself.
Now, this person is saying that they find themselves attached to their desires, following the excitement, but instead of trusting and releasing them, they attach to them, try to control them. As you know, this doesn't work very well for them. So how can they reach new levels of trust and allow themselves to surrender?
Well, again, you have to stop thinking that your physical mind knows what's best all the time. It doesn't. You have to understand that holding on to a particular outcome, insisting on a particular outcome, is a limitation on what could possibly happen that would be even better. So you have to give up the idea that your physical mind knows what the ideal outcome absolutely always should be. You have to let go and let yourself know that you're imposing limitations on yourself that you don't need to impose. Even though it may seem as if I'm controlling this to make sure it comes out to be the best, that's the opposite of what you're doing by insisting on a particular outcome. You're actually limiting yourself from experiencing what you could be experiencing. So when that finally sinks in, you'll stop doing it. Unless you really prefer to keep limiting yourself. That's okay, if that's your path. But I think you sound like you're tired of it.
You have said that the soul is driving the car and the ego has a wheel that is not connected to anything.
I didn't
You've
say that.
also,
I didn't
okay,
say that.
all right. Well, then
Again,
this
the
question's
ego serves
probably
the
not very
purpose.
good.
The ego serves the purpose of allowing you to experience physical reality in a clear and precise way. But that's its job. It doesn't mean it's not connected to anything. It simply means it's not supposed to be steering the car to where you wish to go. It's just supposed to help you see where it is that the car has gone after you have steered it with the idea of acting on your passion, which is following the directions of your higher mind.
And this last sentence in their question was, you will discuss that you've said you will discover that you have been in control this whole time.
From the higher level, yes.
So that analogy of driving the car versus um, realizing that at another level you're in control. So it's not that you're in control per se at this level, except for how you respond to everything that happens.
Exactly. You are in control of your reactions and responses. You have the free will to decide how you will experience the idea of the life path that you have laid out from a higher level.
And this person had a huge awakening journey and found integration back into 3D world of Earth very difficult. They felt very lonely walking their path. Any advice for that?
The whole idea when you have a higher level vibrational experience is to bring that down to earth, not feel that you are missing something, but that you have been given a great and beautiful opportunity to know what that vibration can be like when you bring it down to earth through the actions of serving humanity by following your passion. So It's not there to make you feel alone. It's there to make you realize you are all one and to bring that vibration and the opportunity to experience that high vibration to others as well through the work that you do in service to humanity by acting on your passion.
Okay. And um, is life more like a single player or a multi-player game? Is free will also orchestrated?
Your free will is your free will in terms of the freedom to, within the overall agreement, the collective agreement, the freedom to be the individual that you chose to be, the freedom to learn the lessons that you chose to learn in whatever way you wish to, or ignoring them completely. So you have a great degree of freedom within the game, within the rules you have agreed to play, and there are individual levels of agreement as well as collective levels of agreement. So again, we use the analogy of a game of chess. You have agreed to a play by the rules of chess, but the strategy you use is up to your free will. The kind of pieces you use and what they're made of is up to your free will. But you have to follow the rules of chess, otherwise, you're not playing by the rules of chess. You're playing a different game. So, yes, there are collective agreements, but you have a great degree of freedom within that to be yourself in how you play the game. Play fast, play slow, play openly, play sneaky. It's up to you.
Um, Next question. Are we and our loved ones really all our own unique souls that continue to exist in spirit after death? Or is it just like waves disappearing back into the ocean, so to speak?
You all still exist. You always will still exist, even though you know you belong to a greater ocean. So the drops in the ocean never disappear, even though they know that they are drops in the ocean. They are still drops. Remember, it's this and that, not this or that, not one or the other. It's both.
And can a place where you live in not want you there anymore?
No, you can make it seem as if it doesn't want you by amping your vibes to the point where you color the vibration of the location to push you out of it because you're the one that doesn't want to be there anymore. And you're simply projecting that on the location to make it seem as if the location is pushing you out, but you're the one doing it. So a location can become vibrationally incompatible to you, but that doesn't mean it wants you to leave. It's simply reflecting what you're giving off, that you want yourself to move.
And what role will Bashar and Daryl have post 2030? Will Daryl ever finally get to meet you face to face?
Yes, and that's all we will say about that at this time.
Okay. And how old are you for this particular transmission?
Somewhere between 137 and 157, depending upon the question.
And do you stay in your ship above Sedona, or do you go back and forth to Essassani, or are you able to be in two places at once?
It's not so much being in two places at once, but I'm able to go back and forth without you necessarily noticing because time for me is not what it is for you.
And you never sleep, right?
No,
But you rest.
we can rest,
Or when you're in a state of repose, is that a state of resting?
kind of, or a state of activity in a different way, on a different level.
So that is one piece of furniture that we would see in spaceships, chairs.
When they are necessary, they will extrude from the floor. When they're no longer necessary, they will dissolve back into the floor or the wall, at least in our ships.
And your demeanor translates through the channel in tone of voice, facial expressions, and physical gestures. However, when you laugh, your laughter does not translate through the channel, and you will tell us one moment we are laughing. I'm just curious about why your laughter does not translate through the channel. Can you explain?
Yes, we have explained this before. Perhaps you have missed it. But a full body laugh will disconnect us from the channel because the channel will then withdraw within himself because laughter is very centralizing. And therefore, in a sense, it will wake the channel up.
Do members of your species ever get the giggles?
We laugh a lot.
And are we your favorite laughter stimulator?
Certainly, you are one of them.
What other things do you encounter that
That's
make you laugh?
enough for now.
Okay. Um, how are the hybrid children birthed? Are they physically carried like human fetuses? And how is the human DNA connected to create hybrid children?
I believe that many of you already understand that sometimes the fetus can be carried for a small length of time by the human female and then removed and placed in what you might call a maturation chamber, taken to full term from DNA that was collected and harvested in what you typically refer to as the abduction phenomenology.
And will some forces of nature change on planet Earth upon open contact? For example, will the regions of the poles become less magnetic, or will gravity even become lighter?
These things have absolutely nothing at all to do with open contact. No.
Okay, and um, 1 second here. Seem to want to move. Um, can you elaborate more on the hive mind spectrum that different civilizations choose? Like, what is the difference in a negative hive mind spectrum that the Greys adopted from a positive hive mind spectrum where we are headed towards?
Who says that the Greys are exhibiting a negative hive mind? This is a
Well, with
misunderstanding. If you mean that they adopted the idea of the hive mind because of certain other negative activities, and therefore the hive mind is what they needed to do to save themselves, that's a different issue if that's what you mean. We will
and
not
is
necessarily address further details of this right now. It will go into too lengthy of an explanation.
okay. And is there such a thing as star seeds?
Yes, of course, but star seeds are simply each and every single one of you who understands that you are here by choice participating in the evolution of humanity. So you're all star seeds in that context.
Okay. And some teachings talk about how this world is totally neutral or doesn't have inherent meaning, and that we are the ones that give it meaning with our thoughts and beliefs. But you've also seen things in this world that have their own properties too, like some foods seem to be healthy, some substances seem to do certain things, etc. Can you help clarify this? Is everything neutral outside of our perception, or do things have their own vibrations and properties only?
When things seem to
Alone.
have their own built-in meanings, it's because of the collective agreement, so you don't have to think about it. It doesn't mean that it always works for every individual. There can be some exceptions depending on your life path. But those things that seem kind of automatically built in are simply usually the result of the collective agreement so that you don't have to always think about it. So things that you have collectively said, well, this is generally a healthy thing to do, are simply put there by the collective. So again, you don't have to constantly reinforce that idea. You simply accept it as a given for most people on your planet. You also know that there can be exceptions depending upon what a person has chosen for their individual life path. So it just depends. But yes, it's all neutral to begin with, and the collective agreement may make some things seem to have built-in meaning, but that's just because of the collective agreement. They can be superseded by some people if that's part of their life path to do so.
Okay. And is there a cosmic battle going on between negative ETs and good ETs?
No,
Okay. And I guess I'll find the last question here. Um, this person is asking about time and progression. From what they understand, it can take hundreds, if not thousands of years to progress from one density to the next. If we are all timeless beings, how is it that some beings like yourself have evolved so much farther than us? Is existence one endless loop that once we become one with Source, again we start all over?
It's not quite the way that you're depicting this. And again, remember, you experience time by definition in physical reality to experience growth and expansion in a certain way. And certain cycles can make things take a long time, depending upon the processes that are necessary, in which a group of individual souls has decided to band together to evolve. We have had a head start. We are a physical race that is artificial and therefore have been given a head start, which is why we are more advanced than you are. We didn't start from scratch, so to speak, in the way that our souls progress. But the idea in general is that, yes, you're timeless beings, but not in terms of physical beings. In physicality, you experience time, and therefore, in time, you experience evolution, and therefore, you experience cycles and timing and things like that. You are only timeless when you're non-physical.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you so much for all this information. I hope everyone found it beneficial and expansive, and we really appreciate it.
It is our passion and our pleasure and our deep appreciation and unconditional love to all of you. Allow yourselves now to move forward and become relaxed. Enjoy.